Hi ho, fellow armchair Imagineers! Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And oh my god, Dragon, we have so much to talk about in so little time. It's the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory 50th anniversary retrospective podcast. We're all old and we're all. Alright, I'm not going to get into it. We're old. But, Dragon, can you believe it? 50 years. I mean, it's funny because I feel like this is a film that it both feels eternal, it both feels like it's been around forever, and it also still kind of feels modern and ahead of its time at the same time. It feels like almost like an out of time sort of movie. You know what I mean? It just is.
Yeah.
So Dragon, I've got some childhood nostalgia for this thing. Do you have childhood nostalgia? Would you like to go first?
Sure.
Go for it.
All right. So it's not too extensive. I remember seeing this in school as a kid. I want to say it was during one of those. It was either like a substitute day or something. One of those days, they put on a movie when the class isn't really happening. My assumption is that was a music class, but I can't say for certain. But I remember watching it. I was transfixed, and I absolutely sought it out on DVD, and that was around the 30th anniversary, probably at least by the time I remember eventually getting my hands on the DVD. So it was I mean, for sure, one of the definitive classics of cinema, just brimming with movie magic. It's simple yet with such strong morals. It's got excellent music. It's got imaginative sets. It's a film for all ages that span generations and simply a prerequisite for the human experience to view this film. It's what it is.
Yeah, I think as time goes on, Dragon, I view this film more and more as kind of like a more modern Wizard of Oz.
I think there's a very apt comparison. I think it's very much kind of the Wizard of Oz, kind of from the '70s onward. It's very much in terms of it's in that echelon.
I think it's. I mean, I personally think it's better than Wizard of
Well,
Oz.
I agree. I'm just saying
it's thematically a lot richer, but
I mean, look, I myself would agree. I'm just saying in terms of the tomes of film, Wizard of Oz came first. But you're right, though. I'm just saying it's definitely it's up there with like right on par with in terms of just kind of like the storied legacy.
All right, so we have Monkey in the comments here saying Blue Dragon 5, more like Gold Ticket 5.
We have actually interesting things that were brought up in the comments.
We have AJ Zyla says, I met Peter Ostrom at a Dollar General I managed. He was humble, so engaging, and didn't mind talking about the movie. So those who don't know, Peter Ostrom played Charlie Bucket in this film, of course. And I looked it up, Dragon. He's a veterinarian now, and I believe Charlie Bucket is the only film role he ever had.
Yeah, so what happened is Ostrom, again, he kind of went the other direction of the old child stardom thing. Because you got to remember, people loved him in this movie. There were many offers. They wanted to do a lot of other stuff. Like there was talk of I don't know if it was necessary for Willy Wonka, given that there's technically a sequel. I mean, there was talk of like a 3-picture contract. I don't know if that was just for this or just in general. Someone wanted him for like a 3-picture studio contract, but he chose to leave it all behind. He had other things he wanted to get to, and he very humbly and very he wanted to become a veterinarian, and he did. You know what's really sweet about it? He would go to schools. I don't know if he still does or not, but I mean, definitely around the 30th anniversary and time leading up to that, he 20 years ago, he'd be invited to schools and he would speak about the movie. So he was never I don't want to talk about that as this little anecdote. So this seems absolutely on brand for Peter Ostrom. Always seems so pleasant in interviews.
All right, so Dragon, I have a bit more of a complicated history with this movie. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love it, but there's some childhood trauma attached to it. As one would expect sometimes with this film. So here's the thing, Dragon. I did not know about this movie before I was exposed to the animated Wonka commercials. Do you remember those?
I remember the Wonka commercials. Do you just mean in general, or do you mean a specific animated Wonka commercial?
I mean the specific one, not a specific one in general, just the animated ones, where the animated Willy Wonka, selling you stuff.
Well, I remember all the Nerds commercials and everything. Those are the ones that really jump out to me. Maybe I'm
oh my god, the Nerds were like the original Minions.
I mean, I guess. I mean, sure, but
But
it's.
you remember the Willy Wonka in those commercials, though, right?
I mean, it's been so long, T. I got to be honest. I think so, but it's been. I can't remember offhand. I think so. I'm pretty sure though. I'm pretty sure I remember it though.
Because for me, I always this was kind of like a Beetlejuice kind of situation where it's like when I found out that there was a live action Willy Wonka movie, I was like, "What? The candy? They made a movie out of the candy?"
Oh,
I
I
was
do
so
know. I
confused,
remember the
Dragon, as a
animated.
young man, as a young lad.
I remember him now.
Um, so when I watched the film, Dragon, you can imagine in the commercials, he's just treated as this like kind of Mad Hatter-esque, like, oh, we've got so little time, so much to do. Follow us, kids, and I'll get you candy. I mean, that in its own respect is a
Strike
little
that. Reverse.
creepy, bear in mind, but still, Gene Wilder, Dragon, obviously I feel like nowadays, as an adult, when we look at Wilder's performance, it's brilliant specifically because of how many layers he puts into it and how there is kind of like this unhinged madness kind of brimming just underneath the surface. Dragon, that terrified me as a kid. Like,
Really?
I'm not even saying the tunnel scene. The tunnel scene bothered me a little bit, but honestly, not really, because I was used to stuff like Halloween is Grinch Night and Pink Elephants and stuff like that. They didn't really get to me. What got to me was how passive aggressive Wonka was. Like that to me was like real life, like adult fear. You know what I mean? Like kind of like having this childhood hero built up to be kind of like this eccentric jerk a lot of the time. And Dragon, I remember it's genuinely one of the first characters where, the acting on a very subtle level is what got me frightened. And so for that reason, I honestly think Gene Wilder did his job, obviously. But for me, like even as a kid, even being a little off put by that, I think it is kind of like slightly the reaction they were going for. So yeah, I mean, needless to say, my family adores this movie. It's just a hollow classic, yada yada yada. I don't even know what else there is to say in regards to just how good it is. Let's just dive in, Dragon. What background you got?
Or the background's really fascinating with this movie, and I think we're good with the banner. We're right.
Oh,
So let me.
Did you want me to put the banners up?
No, I just mean you still have the comment up. That's all.
Oh, okay, my bad.
All right. Okay, so let me tell you about the background. There's always a really interesting story with this film. It actually starts. It's so funny your experience with it, Tiki. Given you're thinking of the candy commercials before you saw the movie, which I kind of had something similar too. I mean, I saw I always see like the nerds and everything. We go in the grocery checkout. At least back then, it was a lot more prominent. So I mean,
I wager that nerds are not only easily the best Wonka candy, but for my money, one of the best candies. Period.
And that's what I'm saying.
I'm
sure I've seen the commercials, and since you brought the anime, well, I'm always going to like the old the gummy things, and ever since they kind of ushered out kind of the Wonka mascot, I keep remembering those commercials. But yeah, so it's so funny you mentioned it because it does
definitely an animated Wonka mascot, though.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. I know what you're talking about since you brought it up. Yeah, very Gene Wilder modeled in retrospect. Yeah. So let me tell you. So here's how the movie starts. You have this director, Mel Stewart, who at the time was very famous for his movie he did in '64. It's a documentary. It's called 4 Days in November, which was about the Kennedy assassination, which was really big. Just knowing how fresh the wound was, So he had a 10-year-old daughter who told him Daddy, I just read this Roald Dahl book and it's wonderful. So he suggested you should call Uncle David, who was the producer he worked with, David L. Wolper, one of those uncles, like the friendly uncle. And she's like, you should make it into your next movie. So we read the book, he liked it, and he pitched it to Wolper. And what Wolper did, and the genius producing back then, is that his sell in getting backers for the film and getting it made was he pitched it to the Quaker Oats company because they were thinking about doing a rollout for a new candy bar. And it was like, okay, yeah, we could absolutely use this to promote a new candy bar promotion, which essentially turned into the subsidiary of Quaker Oats, which essentially is Wonka Candy.
Wait, Wonka Candy is Quaker Oats? Oh,
yeah, that's where it's birthed
a whole
from.
Other wrinkle.
Yeah, so it's birthed from that. It was kind of like a subsidiary.
I always assumed Wonka Candy was like a spinoff of Nestle or something.
Nope, no, it's Quaker Oats was the beginning. Yeah. So That's how you get like the idea of the Wonka candy, and basically, I'll tell you exactly what happened to the candy bar momentarily here. But
Because correct me if I'm wrong, Dragon, Quaker Oats, they're like an oatmeal company for the most
yeah,
part, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a little Ben Franklin looking guy on the front.
Yeah, right. That's what I thought.
Well,
Yeah.
a Quaker looking guy, but I mean, let's just face it, looks like Ben Franklin.
No, it's totally a Ben Franklin
Yeah.
looking guy. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Okay, so the point being, okay, so you have a big sell. Okay, we're going to do the movie, and that'll be our perfect marketing tie-in. But it's going to glorify the candy bar. How can we, with all the Wonka bars, they're going to be in this movie? We're going to sell gobs of them. How could you not? So it gets a $3 million budget, which I mean, comparatively, like $3 million back then in '71. Like, let's just say to the 2000s, like 30 years later, is $80 million. So so it's again a relatively small budget, but
say
still.
maybe the actual candy became Nestle in its later years.
Yeah, I think that sounds possible. Where I'm just saying it started with Quaker Oats. I forget if Nestle eventually got they became like the subsidiary that made it, but Nestle may have, I think, got in there somewhere, but I don't want to say with 100% certainty. Anyway, politics. So they changed it was Quaker Oats' idea to change the title from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory again to get the product name in there, Wonka bars.
Oh, it was a product name. That's interesting. That's funny. That was it wasn't even like a character choice. It was legitimately
no, it was purely to sell the candy bar.
That's funny. I always assumed it was like hey, we got Gene Wilder here. Gene Wilder's the main star.
Because, I mean, you look at it now, and of course, a lot of people comparing it
trippy.
to the...
That's trippy, Dragon. You're right. I am learning stuff about this background.
And everyone just kind of always, when the 2005 one came out trying to do the book, obviously the switcheroo was that's more on Wonka, where this one's more on Charlie, like the real book.
I know, it's so weird. Yeah, I know. It's stupid.
Right, so speaking of the book, so Roald Dahl, he was involved in this. I want to make no mistakes. Roald Dahl, he adapted the book into a script, but what happened is, so he couldn't stay on for the whole project. So afterward, they bring in, their another writer, David Seltzer, to basically kind of punch up and do the rewrites, basically because Roald Dahl's not involved for the whole process. They have to get another guy in there. So David Seltzer, basically, he put in a lot of the iconic moments in there, versus like just kind of the core structure of the story. That's Dahl. So they shot in Munich to replicate London, and I forget where precisely the book's set, but I wanted the idea being is when they're shooting is that you go with London versus like a contemporary like New York, which you think like, okay, candy, Americana, but no.
Someone could correct me if I'm wrong here, but I want to say the book was kind of like supposed to be just like ambiguous, like small town connected to a factory sort of deal, like industrial small town.
Well, anyway, you slice it, that may absolutely be the case. And what I'm saying is they set it in terms of, they set it in London just for the kind of the timeless storybook quality there. So there's kind of like a timeless quality to it. Very much like, okay, so if we set it somewhere it's instantly recognizable, it's kind of like we've seen 100 times before in movies like New York, like it's going to be a little boring. We want to make it a little more enduring, which again, setting in London is it's like Star Wars. We have English people in space. We have the British in space. It works, but no one pays a mind to it, and it stands the test of time for decades.
Yeah.
They had 9 Oompa Loompas, which little people were really hard to find in the 70s. So it's why we have 9 of them. You ever do like a head count that's as many as we can have in a scene? Real quick, so Sammy Davis Jr., of course, very famously loves the Candyman song. He loved it here. It was between him and the songwriter who actually offered the chance. They wanted to sing the song. But what happened is they didn't go with Sammy Davis Jr. because it would have been star power, would have been distracting. Like, well, who's this big name that we're getting?
That honestly, it would have felt like maybe like a Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band kind of deal, like, because that's a movie that's just based off of like, hey, we're going to cram as many celebrities of the times to do these musical numbers.
Yeah, and the songwriter...
that was probably a good choice, as much as I would have loved to see Sammy Davis in the movie.
I know, and it would have been cool. And he's very much made that song his own. Very famous.
For sure,
I love that the song's making a comeback with the 50th anniversary. I'm seeing all the commercials, and they're playing...
Dragon, you know what? Guess what my biggest association with this damn song is. Just take a guess. Just take a guess.
I don't want to wager a guess. Just tell me.
It's actually a Simpsons parody.
Oh, God.
The garbage man can.
Okay.
And then we'll also get to a Family Guy parody later on. That's iconic.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway, so yeah, and the songwriter basically he was brilliant as he was, putting him in the actual movie, he just would not have had quite the same presence. So,
For sure.
so in terms of the reaction, the big point I need to hit with the candy bar thing, you're going to want to really know. So, Roald Dahl, just in case you're wondering how he felt about the movie, he hated a lot of stuff about the movie, as you probably expect. Many times, especially with Dahl and the adaptations of his work. So what happened here is he hated Slugworth as the villain, or at least as the fake out villain. He hated just the whole Slugworth's like a footnote. He hated making Slugworth like a whole thing. He hated the fizzy lifting drink scene. And basically, from what I understand, he hated all the great iconic stuff too. He hated the Candyman scene. He hated Pure Imagination and the ending. Like all my favorite parts, he hated them.
That's crazy.
So, in terms of the release, the film was not it made money, but it was not a major success like they had hoped. It made, let's say the budget, as I mentioned, was $3 million. They made $4.5 million, so it made money.
Mm-hmm.
Enough to save their bacons. The critics loved it. The mothers were scared by the tunnel scene, but overall, the critics loved it. That was the big complaint. Mothers, the whole family movie. Oh, we can't take our children to see this. It's just the tunnel scene, man. Get over it.
Well, I mean, it's the tunnel scene. Like I said, it's I feel like the tunnel scene is pretty much in line with something like Pink Elephants, maybe a little bit more intense than that.
I mean, yes, it's intense, but not just fully traumatizing that it's going to overwrite the entirety.
A chicken get its head cut off.
That's what I'm saying. It's scary, but I'm saying it doesn't underwrite all the other great stuff and heartwarming stuff for the movie.
Right, yeah.
I think I would say compared to other Roald Dahl works. I mean, to be fair, this was probably the first, if I'm recollecting. But okay, so here's the I gotta tell you, I'm gonna end on the tragedy of it all, Tiki. Okay, so something bad happened.
Okay.
So the film's out, and again, the film is being quite beloved by the people that are seeing it. But so the film's out, Quaker Oats, you think they're pleased as peaches, okay, the movie's out, it's making some money, and people are going to see this movie and they're going to want to buy Wonka bars because how could they not? And so they sent all the candy bars out in the store, and they're all shipped out there. They're ready to be sold, and the next morning they all melted.
Oh no!
There was a flaw in the formula, so they could not last the night.
Oh God! So they just have a whole shipment of oh man.
Mm-hmm. And Tiki, they never made a proper Wonka bar ever. All the candy and all the stuff of the Wonka thing. They've only done two very, in my opinion, shoddy attempts at it. Okay, they did.
Well, I was going to say there have been Wonka bar products. They're just very shoddy. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. The two that come to mind are when the 05 movie came out. They had a graham cracker infused and that's not the Wonka bar. We saw it. It's milk chocolate. It's supposed to be a chocolate bar, not this. Don't give me this wafer BS. And then apparently I guess with the 50th anniversary or whatnot, they put out an edible infused Wonka bar. Crazily enough,
give it to me. Give it to me. I want it. I want it.
Look, I want to be clear again. Personally, I'm not crazy about it, but just for what it is, though. I know that's what I'm saying. For what it is, I mean, look, by all means, have something for that demographic. But here's the problem, though. Here's what ticks me off. Okay, if you're going to do that, fine. But how do you do that before you have just the straight chocolate bar for everyone to have?
Okay, so the edible is straight chocolate?
No, I'm saying the edible, it's a chocolate bar, but it's infused with with stuff.
Obviously, but but besides the cannabis, it's straight chocolate.
From what I understand, it's straight chocolate. Yeah, I mean, that's what it's been marketed as, and that's what I'm saying. It just, to me, why can't they
Google that right now? I'm
but
not.
Don't you understand? I mean, that's what I'm saying, folks. 50 years, and we've never done a straight chocolate bar for the Wonka bar. How ridiculous is that? It's just always. I've always, ever since I was the successful demographic for the movie. When it's I want that chocolate bar and I can't have it.
Uh-huh.
And we already kind of talked about the ostrom of it all. They all kind of moved on. Some of them held in the business for a while, and then they kind of ultimately became accountants and fitness instructors, and kind of a lot of odd jobs for Mike TV's case. But so that's kind of what happened. So we never got a chocolate bar, but a movie went down history, and it's a happy ending.
All right, so let's see. We have some comments here. AJ Zyla says, "I can watch this movie all day." Gene Wilder played Wonka so well, sarcastic, evil, funny, and endearing. Yeah, a lot of layers to Wilder's performance, indeed.
Oh yeah.
Monkey says, and of course, Imagineer Harper Goff did art direction on the movie. Indeed, he did,
Which makes a lot of sense with how it turned out.
And this is a film that I'm really surprised has never had theme park representation.
You know, something ironic that was with the mention of Disney. Some of the odd jobs in the child actors' adulthoods. The guy who plays Mike TV, he actually did PR for Disney for a while.
Oh, nice. That's funny.
Yeah, did PR and they got like to a roller skate business to like financial and odd jobs over a lifetime, folks.
And right, I have one little last bit of nostalgia. So anyone who grew up in in Petaluma, California, around the 2000s, like the 2000s through the 2010s, they remember Powell's Candy Store. Powell's Candy Store was conveniently located right next to the movie theater. So a lot of times, instead of getting the candy at the movie theater, people would get their candy at Powell's Candy Store and sneak it into the movie theater. That was kind of a tradition. Very convenient location there.
Because when you need candy, just ask your pal.
Right. But anyways, the store had a great selection of old school candies, like revival, like revivals of limited time revivals of older candies and stuff like that. Foreign candies, like a whole wall of gummy based candies that you could bag up. But one of the big features of it, Dragon, was they had Willy Wonka in a little kind of theater area in the corner of the shop with like a couple rows of theater seats, just playing on a loop.
That sounds wonderful.
It was wonderful. I miss it dearly. It's closed now. It's a sandwich shop now.
Oh man, that makes it even sadder. It went from all that wonderful candy to a sandwich shop.
Yeah.
Well, again, sandwich shops. I'm saying you went to all that elaborate.
What if it was like a Scooby-Doo shop though? What if it was like a Scooby-Doo themed sandwich shop and they played like Scooby-Doo episodes on the loop?
That would save it.
All right. Well, it's not that, but I'm just saying.
I know. Well, you're poisoning me with hope right now.
All right.
I just imagine like Jensen Ackles walking into dedicating this shop, but make your own giant Scooby-Doo sandwiches.
All right. Okay. The book got a now defunct attraction at Alton Towers. That's interesting. Was it a walkthrough or a boat ride or what, Monkey? I'm not sure. Okay, so Dragon, let's just dive right into it. Let's get to basically we're going to go through the characters, and we're going to kind of in doing that sort of go chronologically through the book.
Through the movie, but
Slugworth.
Yes, Slugworth, very sinister-looking man with a scar and those awesome hexagon glasses. Always made him stand out to me. The hexagon glasses.
You know what? I am going to kind of side with Dahl here, though. I think Slugworth in the movie is one of the less interesting elements of it, and I do think he gets a little too much screen time.
I don't know. I like the presence of Slugworth, and I like just him, but he just kind of pops up when he's needed, and he kind of pops up later on during the tunnel sequence, very memorably for me.
I feel like his presence is almost like it almost gives the movie a little bit too cynical of an edge, just because I feel like the cynical elements of the movie kind of come more naturally from kind of like how weird Wonka is. But I'm just kind of nitpicking here. Like I said, I'm just kind of trying to understand Roald Dahl's perspective on Slugworth.
Right. Well, I mean, his perspective is like Slugworth just like name dropping other competition names versus like, okay, we're gonna actually make him like a fixture of the narrative in which the kids are being bribed to steal something, which is not in the book at all. I'm gonna guess.
Now, what is good about Slugworth, though, is the golden ticket thing, because I feel like the golden ticket plotline is one of the best act ones in any movie ever.
Yeah, so our setup, of course, with the setup, just to name drop it, briefly name drop it, again, the Candyman sequence is just delightful and sets the tone perfectly for what we could incur with later on once we go to the candy paradise that is the chocolate room. So, it's just like the modern day, very grounded version of it here, where you go in there, but it's the most wonderful experience ever with kind of your Candyman kind of server. It's delightful.
Mm-hmm.
builds also, but basically throughout the setup there into the golden tickets, we build up the legend of Willy Wonka. You know, like the whole idea of he was dealing with competitors and spies like a Slugworth, and hence the secrecy. And it had that really creepy Roald Dahl-esque knife salesman, just like saying, "People go in there, but they don't come out."
But they don't come out.
That's what I'm saying. Like I think we're building a balance with the tone of like the whimsy, but also like there's a little something eerie here, and before we even gotten in the factory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's one thing about Act 1 is the buildup is palatable, and like, I mean, I feel like as a kid I was really impatient. I feel like this is a universal experience, right? Where tell me if I'm wrong here, or tell me if I'm off base. But I feel like as a kid, it's kind of like when are we gonna get to the fireworks factory? And as an adult, the ride to the fireworks factory is equally just as fun because of all the social commentary going on.
Social. Oh well, I think you mean this in this movie in terms of like like the build up and kind of
the commercialism, the rush for the golden tickets, everything like that. I think it's all set up so well.
It's definitely something to appreciate more in adulthood.
Awesome satire.
Absolutely.
Like to me, it kind of reminds me of like Tim Burton before Tim Burton in a lot of ways. It's got that same sort of cynical edge to it, like the cynical edge draped over a candy colored tone, you know?
Yeah, I mean, of course, like the way we use like the newsman, kind of the way we kind of use the newsman, the coverage of everything. I mean, as well as like with the media blitz of it all. I love how he's kind of frame it like 5 lucky bolts of lightning are about to strike and sweeping the nation, and just like in this genius marketing from Wonka's end of like, I'm going to sell millions of candy bars for people to try to get these golden tickets while I have my own agenda, kind of with the underdog story with Charlie that works here. So I mean, that's great. And we have like I kind of keep viewing as like kind of lovely British humor, like really quaint British jokes.
Oh yeah,
totally. Stuff that's going on, like the whole like asking the computer like where the golden ticket is, and and of course like your husband's life or your last case of Wonka bars. Do I have time to think it over? It's a Jack Benny joke, but it's adapted in kind of the British style. Kind of, like stuff like that. So it's kind of like the most lighthearted version of the Dark Knight Returns media satire. If you look,
right, yeah, for sure.
But you're right though. That's the thing. I mean, look, if you really want to, the only knock I could ever make against this movie, like ever, because again, I think the pacing on this movie is sublime. It's like perfectly paced.
Yeah, with one notable exception that we'll get to.
I know we'll get that. That's what I'm saying. So that one being taking that one completely off the table. I mean, in general, like the worst thing I could say is that I mean I like the media stuff, especially in adulthood, because it's clever writing, it's fun, and it also every time we find a golden ticket.
I thought the media stuff was boring, but now I honestly think it's one of my favorite sections of the film.
Yeah, I mean, basically what we needed for is introduce our characters with the golden ticket and set up Slugworth, which that is well weaved into Act 1. And so that's what I'm saying. Like the worst thing I could say is just like it's getting there, but still, I mean, ultimately our pacing is really great, and our pacing speeds up tremendously in the best way once we enter the factory because it's a straight line just getting to the end, and it kind of goes by like that. It's so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously there's one song that we don't need in this movie at all, but I guess we'll get there soon. So just with Slugworth, though, so they kind of jump around to some of the other the big Slugworth scene, as it were. So Charlie, our underdog story here of just we're rooting for this kid, a kid without the means to find the golden ticket. And he does, and we have this wonderful bit of like, "Run home, Charlie! Don't stop! Don't
okay, that's great, and also a wonderful Family Guy parody. Like this was back when Family Guy elongated jokes were actually funny, with the Peter Griffin just skating his knee and just being like, "Ah."
The iconic knee joke stemmed from the Willy
Like
Wonka.
oh my god, they played the hell out of that, and it became just obnoxious. But the first time they did it, Dragon, it was glorious.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So yes, of course, as he runs through the tunnel, we have it's so ironic that I get absolutely why Dahl doesn't like it, but still, it's a very Roald Dahl-esque scene where we have just the way it's framed in there. He's slow, like staring down the camera to Charlie here. Just the framing and the kind of the high-ish voice on him. He's almost dressed like Judge Doom. It's just like just like offering money to a poor child and his family, which again, I just look at Slugworth in that scene. I see the representation of its craven adulthood and business versus the idealism of a child. It's like the ultimate test in the tension with the gobstopper, so that if you steal an everlasting gobstopper, I'll give you $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
And again, Slugworth, it's so interesting when you think about it too, because Slugworth technically he's there like on the drop of a dime the minute these tickets are found. He's in with the reporters. We have some like fun. There's a subtle gags with Slugworth if you notice. Like he has that weird thumb. Did you notice the weird thumbs up he keeps doing?
Yeah.
It's just like a little fun thing, like the way he's like messing with the mic during the Mike TV sequence, like stuff like that. It's the fact that Slugworth he knows where these tickets are going to be found. It's like a subtle clue of like trust nothing that you're seeing in the movie, even before we've entered the factory. It's like this Slugworth, he knew exactly where Charlie was during that run home. He knows that fifth ticket wasn't.
Yeah, there is a kind of a subtle like omnipresent quality to him.
Like they know where these tickets have been shipped. They're just waiting for the kid to find them. It's like, oh boy, there's something interesting there. So I know. So I like the tension of Slug, particularly during that tunnel scene. We'll get there. All right. So let's talk the Bucket fam. Let's talk good old Grandpa Joe.
Okay. So Grandpa Joe, obviously one of the most sentimental characters in the film, just performance-wise, really stands
Jack
out.
Albertson is wonderful as Grandpa Joe.
Yeah, I think he's an anchor of the film, to be sure.
Yeah, he brought a tremendous heart to the film, yeah.
Now, Dragon, what do you think of the family itself? Because I feel like the family itself is maybe one of the most divisive elements of the film.
Well, I'm going to say this. I think the whole bedridden family is the biggest holdover from the book. And I feel like that was just something they were afraid to mess with, just in the intrinsic, kind of like, we don't want to take too much away from the DNA of the film. Like, why are they all bedridden? And it's like, it's kind of a storybook conceit. Well, they're bedridden, and it's going to be a big deal when Grandpa gets out of bed.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, I just love that Grandpa Joe. He's a good man who wants to support the hopes of his grandson. And I think that the point of them being bedridden and everything is that we represent kind of the burden of old age versus, again, the idealism of youth that's hit the Bucket family. And that has burdened kind of Charlie to become the man of the family, since in the movie's case, the passing of his father, which is his father's alive in the book, which is, I think, which we put into the 05 version. So yeah, we're using the family to demonstrate, Charlie's merit and root for. Basically, you want to root for the kid. You want to establish through the family this kid takes care of his family. He doesn't really want for himself. He offers his birthday gift to his family, which is like a little Malamar version of the chocolate bar. He's a good kid. That's the big takeaway from all the stuff with the family. Mm-hmm. That said, we don't need Cheer Up Charlie at all. It's like the kid's sad. Do you get it? He's sad.
Yeah, Cheer Up Charlie, I feel like, is kind of just like an infamous filler song, man. I feel like it's kind of like synonymous with filler songs. Like, it's just like, oh man, I mean, the song itself just isn't even good at all. Like, it's like,
no, I mean, it's like
the vocals on the Mother are nice, I guess, but
I've heard worse, but it's pointless. That's the thing. Like, we don't need this song at all. I mean, compared to all the great, wonderful songs in the movie, it's like it's the dog. I mean, I hate to put it that, but it's true. But to speak of just with to circle back to Grandpa Joe and some good songs. One, I want to hit the really one of the sweet all-time moments in the movie with Grandpa Joe. It's that sweet moment of he uses the tobacco money to buy Charlie a candy bar. Mm-hmm. A Wonka bar, and then we have that moment where I bet the golden ticket makes the chocolate taste terrible when we find out that it wasn't in there. It's that sweet moment of like, oh, I'm glad you attempted this though. It's like kind of helping the deflated Grandpa Joe who's like has a shared dream with Charlie here. It's really sweet.
Yeah. Really quickly, we got some comments. Claude Pringus says, "Happy 50th birthday to the classic Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory." Monkey says Cheer Up Charlie's probably grown on him. Just fair, I guess. It's never really grown on me, but to each their own. And then he also says, I love that they filmed the late night laundry scene at 1 a.m.
Yep.
All right.
I've got a golden ticket. How do you feel about it?
In my opinion, it's my favorite song in the film. Actually.
Really? Okay. Cool. Yeah.
I just think it's got such a bounce to it. I think the chorus is just instantly it's just such a great hook. I feel like the lyrics are whimsical, and I love how optimistic it is. I mean, don't get me wrong, Pure Imagination is great for sure. Like that's probably the go-to
I'm going to
favorite.
gush on that momentarily, but yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I've Got a Golden Ticket always stood out to me as is the best song for me, just in terms of like being a music guy. It's the one that has the best hook to it, and I can relate to the idealism of the song as well. You know, it's just kind of like one of those songs that I feel like even outside of the movie, it just works as a song to kind of like Rainbow Connection. It works as just like a a perky little pick me up kind of song that has a positive message to it.
Yeah, it's like we've given Grandpa Joe a reason to live and get out of bed. Just a reason to kind of live in just the sense of like so much more life than just kind of going on. It's kind of he's been reinvigorated by the shared goal, and the can. My favorite details in getting to I've Got a Golden Ticket is that the winning, the candy bar with the golden ticket was bought for Grandpa Joe, just to
Uh-huh.
establish that he's thinking of others in his family before himself. This is a good kid. You want this kid to get the lifetime supply of chocolate and everything that follows. And it is it's an ecstatic song. Like, oh my God, he's out of bed. He's gonna go with him. Things are coming up Millhouse for the Bucket family for a change. Yeah.
All right, Claude says, have you seen the musical version of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the Broadway version? Claude, no. I believe Monkey, have you? I'm not sure if Monkey has or not. But I did actually see a community theater production of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory back in the day, back when I was like maybe 15 years ago, back when I was a teenager. And honestly, from what I remember about it, was pretty damn well done. The guy playing Wonka was like, probably about 25 years old, but he really had a lot of a lot of Wonka energy to him. It was honestly a cast where it was like mostly kids because of the because honestly most of the cast was children and the as far as the characters go, but there were adults for the parent roles, so it wasn't just a kids production. But I don't know, it was charming. As far as the Broadway version goes, from what I've heard of the Broadway version, you got this like really elaborate exterior and lobby, and then when you go in, the actual sets are kind of basic. So I don't know. I've heard very mixed things about the Broadway show.
All right.
And then also AJ Zyla says my son's elementary school did a musical version 2 years ago. It was awesome. I have the video. That's awesome,
Oh,
AJ. That's awesome.
yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I believe it is one of those. I believe there is just a kind of like a community theater version of Willy Wonka that you can do. Like honestly, AJ, the one that your kid did probably was, I'm guessing, probably the same script or around a similar script that I saw, because mine was also a very kind of community theater production. So yeah, it's cool that it's kind of woven its way into that element. I'm a big proponent for community theater. I think it's an awesome medium that I feel like communities should support more. But anyways,
Right.
yeah, that's what I figured, Rob. The community theater kids version is different than what's on Broadway. That's what I figured. I figured Broadway is a whole different beast. Anyways, Dragon, I'm sorry. What's next? What's
Let's
next?
transition to the man himself. Let's talk Willy Wonka.
All right. Oh God, give him a build up, Dragon. Give him a build up. Tell us. First of all, I like how we just don't see him in the first act of the movie. It's so mysterious. And then Dragon, just by all means, just lay out the big grand entrance.
Yes. So, oh boy, folks, let me tell you. First off, the Willy Wonka, the definitive Gene Wilder role. I mean, along with young Frankenstein, I think it's his best performance. On paper, Willy Wonka could have been monstrous. Wilder just gave him such a lovability. That's why you get Gene Wilder of all people. But the introduction to Willy Wonka, this was a stipulation by Gene Wilder. The stipulation of do the to do this Kane fake out where he's gonna like he's we've unveiled after all this buildup, he walks out with a cane. He seems to be a crippled man, crippled by life, crippled by by the dishonesty of man that has hurt his business that he's recovered from. So he's stumbling down the way, and his cane gets stuck in a rock, like in the kind of the cobblestone, and he just kind of takes a step down the carpet. And he's kind of realizes, oh wait, where's where's my cane? And then he seems to fall over that realization. He does a tumble, and he reveals, like, I'm fine, I'm lively.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
And that's the thing. So that was all
Such a good
stipulation.
fake out.
That was a very key stipulation for Gene Wilder, because that sets the tone for the character, because you never know if he's lying or telling the truth after he does something like that. It's the ultimate.
And like I said, Dragon, as a kid, I found that element of him so unnerving.
I just love that he said he wouldn't do the movie unless they did that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, there is that unreliable narrator quality, just that uncertainty with Wonka. You know, it's just the first of many brilliant.
Give you a hug or literally stab you in the back, and it's kind of terrifying.
Sure. Well, maybe less stabbing, like more like pushing the chocolate river, but you know.
All right. Well, still, either way, you're gonna die.
Yes. So he's just the first of many brilliant choices that make Willy Wonka stand the test of time as a character. Again, like, I think, as you were speaking to earlier, Tiki, you know, we have the patented glib non sequiturs all throughout the movie that he does. Just like the wonderfully silly lines, like, "Oh, strike that and reverse it," which is great. Mm-hmm. You know, we have like the whole oh god, the whole like the random asides in the very mocking tone with like a little bit of sugar with a little bit of sugar on it, you know, where he'll just kind of tear somebody down. Like, I'm a tad deaf in this year. Speak a little louder next time, you know, stuff like that. You know, he's putting a little sugar on it, though. I love that. As dry and glib as it is, he's still making like the very insulting stuff just kind of sound really like kind of flowers. Just Wilder working his magic, and of course, you know, with Wonka, we have like the funhouse effect of the factory at play too. Like, we're going down a hallway, it's like it just shrinks. It's a great visual effect. The only way backwards is forwards. We just entered into an adventure that's going to go by like that. And it's going to be such a ride.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to talk about the landmark sequence. We got to talk about pure imagination.
Okay, really quick. We've got comments here. Claude Kringa says thoughts on Johnny Depp as Wonka.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. Do you want to start off?
Yeah, I feel like the movie itself is not as bad as people will make it out to be. I do think it has a lot of really good production design. And honestly, I feel like a lot of the kid actors are better kid actors than what were in the original movie. Freddie Highmore, man. I mean, no shade on the original, but
yeah, I mean, nothing against Ostrom, but we were huge fans of Freddie Highmore. We're Fredheads, you know. We're
indeed. But yeah, I mean, needless to say, I feel like Johnny Depp himself is probably the weakest element of that movie. But I do like it for a lot of the production design. I really like what they did with Deep Roy and the Oompa Loompas. You know, I like the Oompa Loompa musical numbers in that movie a lot. But yeah, it is kind of a mess. And also we have Jedi Knight in the comments. Hey there, Jedi Knight. Happy you could join us. All right.
Hello.
Go ahead, Dragon.
Yeah, so the 05 version, specifically the Johnny Depp of it all, I think that movie has redeeming values that don't get brought up enough. But I mean, overall, obviously, it's a very inferior remake to the original in this case.
I will also say that compared to most everything that Tim Burton's doing nowadays, it honestly feels like refreshingly on brand for a Tim Burton movie.
It does. Remember at the time, though, it was kind of like the wheels are coming off realization of Tim Burton, but now it's
but now it's like you look at it, it's like, oh, okay, like that there's a lot of Burtonisms there. I can take it.
But let me tell you though, so my favorite thing about the remake, though, my favorite go-to in regards to Johnny Depp is the father-son story, the whole Wilbur Wonka thing. And again, when Christopher Lee passed, I kept going back to to him playing Willy Wonka's father, which I felt was the most compelling element of that movie, which, again, is not saying much when it's supposed to be about Charlie, but, you know, it still was powerful. Yeah. I just, I just found Christopher Lee just to be really, really powerful in that role, the whole, like, reconciliation between father and son at the end and all that sort of stuff. And, again, had its moments. But, again, production value maybe went a little Burton-y, but it's a Tim Burton film, so what are you going to do? All right. Might have been close to the book, but you know, it's no Mel Stewart, 71 version, let's be honest. All right. So let me tell you, let's talk about pure imagination.
Yeah, I mean, like the Harper Goff set is just iconic. Like I said, I wish there was a ride.
Yeah, yeah, it's so heady too because we do kind of have a ride built in with the boat.
Right, exactly. The fact that there's the boat, kind of like to me, it's almost kind of like the Jurassic Park carousel theater, where it's like, I want to see more of this ride.
Something really cool about the scene with Pure Imagination is this was the cast. If you can see it on the film, and I love that it's just captured on celluloid so gloriously. Is that when those doors opened, that was the cast's first time seeing the chocolate room. And it's just seriously pure. There's a whole sequence of just seeing the chocolate room, the Pure Imagination song. I would argue one of the most iconic moments of cinema.
I mean, it's
Just
definitely this film's equivalent to Over the Rainbow.
exactly. It's like closure. I just love every time we see the room, we're basking, and you hear Gene Wilder say, "Close your eyes, hold
Mm-hmm.
your breath, count to three," and then he starts. And it's a splendid set. I love that. Like from a distance, it's a natural location, but once explored, it's nothing but creativity and imagination everywhere. Everywhere. It's such an inventive sight.
Indeed.
And it's again the wonderful singing talents of Gene Wilder at play here. The choreography as he's going down the stairs. It's the feel good scene of the film along with Candyman for me. I think they perfectly just kind of get you in the perfect headspace. It's a fun fact: a third of this set is actually edible. I mean, pretty much like a third of what you
Oh my
see.
God,
Everything,
that's
every
crazy.
I want to say everything they're eating. The only thing I can verify is the red kind of licorice thing that Violet's father chews through. I'd like to think that's edible, but it's probably just elastic. That's the thing. But here's something that's not edible though, but it's very iconic. The buttercup, not edible. It's wax. So he has like a little spit bucket at the end of that take, but still though, it's the whole
Yeah.
like it's a beautiful moment though. He's like sipping from the buttercup like a tea. Oh, it's wonderful. I love it. It's so inventive. That buttercup, man. Anyway, so then we're gonna talk about a ghost this momentarily, but first let's talk about the aforementioned tunnel scene. Let's talk about the very dichotomous balance between light of just brimming with hope to the dark uncertainty with the boat going through the
Well,
tunnel.
first of all, going back to the Johnny Depp Wonka, the tunnel scene is easily the most disappointing thing in that whole movie.
Yeah, and it's so weird because they're both technically sold as kind of rides. Only here's the thing: this is the much more practical ride you could actually see someone going on because it is. It's very practical versus like, okay, well, we're just trying to incite a thrill ride here, which is just we're trying too hard. It just doesn't play at all.
Mhm. But this is just like, I don't know. I love it, but obviously as a kid, like I said, as a kid, I wasn't as bothered by the tunnel scene as I was by just the confusing demeanor of Wonka in general. But the fact that Wonka would submit people to the tunnel, that's what disturbed me. Not the tunnel itself, but the fact that it's like, okay, what the fuck is Wonka playing at by showing us this shit?
Oh yeah, it's just I kind of see that tunnel scene as this pointed reminder of these naughty kids are they're disappearing and with this the chance only a chance at survival and coming at it at one piece, and this is just like a tease like, oh god, we're really in the thick of it now that one has gone south and now we're entering this tunnel and just things are starting a little scary, like chickens are getting their heads cut off, we got centipedes crawling across people's faces, all kind of psychedelic horror stuff, and all the lights and the singing these Wonka's son. By the way, none of them knew, which Gene Wilder improvised this scene pretty much. I mean, pretty much, is in they at the very least. Let me rephrase that. The actors did not. None of this was in the script, so they didn't know what was
Yeah,
happening
I was
during
gonna
the scene.
say
Like,
the scene is the script is pure doll text. Like that's a famous doll poem.
yeah. So
But
just this whole like the speed, the lights, and just basically like Gene Wilder singing. I don't believe was planned.
uh
I just like the scream
oh,
at
the
the
scream
end.
is the most iconic part for sure.
Oh god! And of course, for me, the thing always jumped out at me because again, I'm invested in Charlie in this movie. It's the moment like him and Grandpa Joe. It's like they see Slugworth. Slugworth. It can't be. It's like I don't know why. It sounds silly, but I'm really invested in that moment. Slugworth. Like oh no. Plus, he's like right there before they enter the factory, and we know he's in the factory later. It's just kind of oh my god.
Right.
All right. Oh yeah.
Okay, next up, Augustus Gloop. Augustus Gloop, the great greedy nincompoop. All right.
All right. So,
I mean, there's not much to say about Augustus, right? It's like he's he's gluttonous. That's kind of his deal.
yeah,
He
of course,
likes to eat.
each kid's got a pun in their name, as you can kind of tell.
Mhm.
You know, with in this case, Gloop pretty much being always going to fall in the gloopy, the water. He's going to fall in the gloopy chocolate, gluttonous and all that sort of stuff. Each kid is a morality tale punctuated by an Oompa Loompa singing about a said moral to help it stick for the kids out there. And I feel each time it gets more interesting. So
I
by
agree. I
proxy,
agree. Augustus is just kind of like, all right, it's the fat kid, and he gets sucked up the tube in the chocolate river because he's too gluttonous. All right, like, Augustus Gloop is like he's easily like the first kill. It's very predictable.
yeah, and of course Wonka's hilarious in this scene where it's just like he's more upset over the contaminated chocolate than he is the kid going into. I mean, at the very least, he's more like the kid's contaminating it further when he's in there, and we just have this really dry, like, you have to jump in and save my son, versus like this help, police, just so dry, as he's eating one of his own chocolate bars during the scene. And again, like a bit that stuck out to me, Charlie is the only one who helps him. He tosses him a lollipop. He helps. He tries.
Right. Jedi Knight says thoughts on the Tom and Jerry remake. I assume he's talking about the Tom and Jerry Willy Wonka, not the recent Tom and Jerry live action.
Yeah, the Tom and Jerry Willy Wonka, all the various like.
I have
Tom
not seen it. I've
like,
watched like a couple reviews of it. I'm probably never going to watch it.
I've seen the review. I've seen a review of it. Now, the main thing I want to highlight, though, is the person they got to play, Willy Wonka was perfect, because they got Alan Tudyk, who, seriously, if they ever, not that they should, but if
God damn it, that makes me actually want to watch it now.
If they ever got based on that, see, Alan Tudyk loves Gene Wilder. He's a huge fan of him, and he's a dead ringer for him, and he can voice and honestly look. So if they ever wanted to do like almost like a Mary Poppins Returns for Willy Wonka with the Great Glass Elevator, not that they should, but if they ever did, get Alan Tudyk. That's how you do it.
All right, a Mary Poppins Returns Wonka would be. I would actually sign off on that.
But that's how you do it. You have to get Alan Tudyk, or else it won't work.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's the closest you're ever going to get.
Yeah.
Right, let's see.
We'll see how Timmy Shawls does.
Wait, is that really what his shorthand is? Timmy Shawls?
Yeah, that's my shorthand.
Not even like Timmy Shawls, like for Chalamet, there's Timmy Shawls?
Timmy Shawls.
It's kind of dumb, but okay. Fun fact, I want to highlight, I do love the transition, though. I love that we go from, with aid in the flow of the pacing, we go from the chocolate river being introduced to, hey, we're on the boat now, which is in the river.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. So, Monkey says, Augustus was hungry!
Oh, by the way, I'm so glad he mentioned that, because a big thing, when this happened in Hey Arnold, of course, obviously with the built-in Willy Wonka and all, when basically the Planes, Trains, and Automobiles-esque episode of Hey Arnold, with Helga and Harold, they go to a candy factory, which, of course, every time we go to a candy factory now, anywhere, anytime, of course, it's a reference to Willy Wonka.
Right.
How can you not think of it, And we had Chocolate Boy in the chocolate vat, which essentially would be our chocolate river.
Uh-huh.
All right. So I guess unless we have a question. I don't know if you want to add it like this, Claude Karinga question. I'm sorry. That's not directed at us. I misread that. Sorry. We're gonna let's transition to Violet.
Okay. Violet Beauregard has the most creative demise. I love the blueberry. I love the prosthetics.
The inventing room is probably my favorite room in the.
Yeah, I agree. That's why Violet for me sticks out of all the other kids, besides Charlie, because I feel like, I mean, obviously, like characterized Veruca Salt does stick out quite a bit, but yeah, Violet, just man, that blueberry transformation, like you said, the inventing room and all the creative stuff going on in there, it all really pops for me, man. It's one of my favorite parts of the tour.
Yeah, I love what facilitates her blueberry fate. I love the 3-course meal gum. I've always loved that idea. It's an insanely genius concept. Just the idea of like the tomato soup, the roast beef, and the blueberry pie. And my favorite Wonka like warning and delivery in the whole movie is, I wouldn't do that. I really would. He just says it very straight. He's very curt warning, like, hey, I wouldn't do that. I really wouldn't. Like, if I'm in that situation, I'm absolutely listening. Okay, I don't want to try that gum. He's saying that very directly to me. Don't
Yeah.
try it. But yeah, seriously, just while his performance, like the lab setting itself, it's a crazy, almost Dr. Seuss-esque lab. Like we have like Wonka math at play here, which is 93% perspiration, 6% electricity, 4% evaporation, and 2% butterscotch ripple, which is 105%, which is crazy talk. It's like you have all these great visual gags, like time is a precious thing you should never waste it. Tosses it in the vat, puts shoes in like another vat to give it a kick. Like, this is hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have like fun like the everlasting gobstopper machine. Cute bits like there. And yeah, the blueberry is, I'd say, the visual of the film. Would you agree with that?
I mean, I would say maybe the visual of the film is probably the pure imagination reveal, but the
Well,
blueberry is probably the most iconic as far as just the events that happen.
sure. So yeah, they I'm sorry. Every time I think of the blueberry thing, they all just keep turning into blueberries. This is not the first time this has happened. Oh god! So of course the moral here with the Oompa Loompa song and everything is that always heed warnings and don't compete with everyone when no one's actually competing with you. No one likes to show off. That's kind of the big moral there. I've got a blueberry for a daughter.
Oh God!
just a hilarious like button on the scene for Mr. Beauregard. Shall we roll along? That's the thing that kind of adds insult to injury with the Wonka thing. It was like he just adds like a pun to like, well, she suffered an unholy fate.
He's just like
along.
almost just getting impatient.
Yep. Shall we roll along then? So then we're gonna jump to Veruca here. So let's talk Veruca Salt.
All right, Veruca Salt. I feel like easily. First of all, I Want the World is probably one of the better songs in the movie as well.
Yeah, the only song, I mean, Charlie, he was like kind of very casually, it was a very small part of the I Got a Golden Ticket song, but it isn't really like the full song a kid gets, with Veruca. So yeah, it's definitely
I think
stand
it
out for
works.
that.
I do think it's really memorable. I remember when I saw the production, the community theater production, it really stuck out because it was like, oh man, yeah, I forgot this song's here. Okay, let's do it. Let's see this spoiled brat kid, perform, and the actress playing it actually really nailed the song. So
Yeah, and again, like of course, Veruca this whole time, the comparison I'd have is she's like she's the bratty Angelica Pickles of the bunch, she's spoiled by her hilarious put upon father, in the nuts business. What business you insult? Nuts. Just like looks at him like he's crazy. Like he's nuts, one could say. But yeah, I Want It Now is a very fun sequence, and we've been having like some great bits with it too, like the snozberries thing, which again elicits a very serious response from Wonka there too. Just this whole like, we are the music makers, we are the dreamers of dreams, which is an Arthur O'Shaughnessy's quote, by the way. It's a poem. Yeah, just this crazy, the very visually dynamic scene too, with like the golden eggs and everything. Like she's tossing cellophane all over the room and like causing this big old tantrum. And it's a wonderful. The scene just builds this wonderful pun of being a bad egg.
Yeah,
it's the most direct and simple moral. Like parents have a responsibility not to to rein in their kids, or else they could be incinerated, which might have some biblical allusions. They're gonna burn if you don't save them in childhood.
Dragon, I gotta ask, what do you think of the squirrels from the Tim Burton movie? Because I believe that is more that's more accurate to the book.
I gotta tell you, the squirrel thing. I mean, I've grown to like it more over the years after I've seen that movie. But I never was crazy about the squirrel thing, or the song that accompanied it. And I was just not crazy about it. Just felt more horrific. I think less is more in terms of like she goes down and she's possibly going to be incinerated. And that's kind of like that. It gave Veruca a big moment. Versus again, we kind of took away Veruca's big moment just the way we did it there. With the squirrels. I mean, it does make sense though, given the nuts thing. It's a nice reworking of her father works in shelling nuts too. That's her fate. I'll admit that is clever.
Okay.
Yeah.
All righty. So let's see. Let's move on to Mike TV.
Oh boy, Mike TV, the kid that Wonka hates most of all in any version.
Yeah, Mike TV honestly is probably the kid that the audience doesn't like most of all in any version as well. Is that
Yep.
fair?
Yeah, you know what's funny? This kid again, he's changed over the years, and they patched things up. When Gene Wilder was alive, but he was a real brat on set in his
Oh,
youth
I'm not
during this whole
surprised.
movie.
You really do get the feeling, yeah.
Like there was genuine animosity towards the kid
I mean,
during the movie.
that's the one time where I'm like, all right, Wilder, yeah, you show that kid what for.
Yeah, and I think the moral with TV ultimately is it's TV obsessed, and of course this kind of cuts close to our cloth. Well, let's just let's just go with it. But the TV obsessed, it's there's a break from reality. With the concept of you lack a concept of mortality and consequence. They go like, I don't care what happens to me because I have no concept of reality. Shrink me, shrink me. Well, guess what's going to happen? They're going to shrink you, and you're going to be going to be like like an inch tall in your mother's hand. It's crazy. I just love that his fate though is that he gets shrunk and put on a TV. Just given that TV was so interladen to his fate, it's very fitting.
Yeah, I do think the technology is interesting too.
Yeah, it is. The whole breaking down the picture, it was very kind of ahead of its time. Very Tron before Tron in a sense,
Sure.
Especially given the outfits and everything. Let's see. Also with TV, we always had that great direct line of "I'm a tad deaf in this ear. Speak a little louder." That's like the catty Wonka line of the movie.
Right.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh, what did you think of the Wonka mobile?
I'm sorry, the Wonka-mobile?
Yeah, the Wonka mobile, the big thing that's shooting all the foam, the bubbles.
Oh yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's another Harper Golf kind of Rune Goldbergian set device.
Feels so much like a parade float, and I dig
it.
Yeah,
totally.
Sweet. And they just could have walked.
It's almost kind of Dr. Seussian.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, exactly. I just love the fact they could have walked, but like if God meant for us to walk, he wouldn't have invented roller skates. It's such a ridiculous rationale, but I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the irony too would be basically being like read a book where obviously it's based on the book, but also if we read a book, we're not going to be watching the movie. It's kind of a wonderfully ironic lesson.
Okay, a couple comments here. Yeah. AJ says, forgot to talk about the scene where the husband Harold is kidnapped and they want the wife's case of Wonka bars, or did I just miss you talking about
I think you may have missed. I mentioned it very briefly, but it was part of the funny kind of satire of the news media and stuff.
Yeah, we were just kind of like talking broad spectrum about how the satire works in the movie. I don't really think we highlighted that in particular, but it is a good moment for sure.
It is, yeah. It's kind of very Jack Benny, but the whole money or your life ideas, or money or his life in this case. Claude has a question for us. Do you think Wonka himself has a dark side?
Well, I mean, I agree with AJ's response. Where or in Jedi Knight's response as well. It's Roald Dahl, of course it's horrifying. And then AJ's response, Wonka is definitely dark. He's 1/4 Jedi and 3/4 Sith. And Dragon, that sounds about accurate, honestly.
I don't know. You know what I think, and I think the answer is kind of in the movie. I think it really is kind of half and half, given the bifurcated room that he has in his office.
Yeah,
I think it really is half and half in that. Like we had a scene too, like earlier we barely talked about the Oompa Loompas, just in the fact that there's kind of there. But he has Gene Wilder.
The Oompa Loompas equally terrified me as a kid. I'll just throw that out there.
It's funny though. If I read it correctly, if I understood it correctly, is that the idea is that the Oompa Loompas are orange and green, so they could avoid kind of an ethnic stereotype for basically what we kind of have in the remake. They're trying to avoid a more tribal kind of thing, which I think was a good idea ultimately, because again, it makes it more timeless. You don't have to worry about. Again, it's held up well over time because they're Oompa Loompas.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean that scene though, he's like talking about again. The key to Wonka is that on paper he's horrifying, but again Wilder brought the charm, which is why they got him for the role. And you just have that bit of like, I visited them and it's a horrible continent they come from. And I said, come with me to my factory and you'll be employed, you'll be safe. And there's a wonderful kind of comfort in that role. But again, there is that little bit of unreliable narrator. Like, is that exactly what happened though? And again, we don't see these kids at the end of the movie. I mean, they deserve these fates.
We see him at the end of the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory remake, but not at the end of this one. Very big distinction there.
I mean, just for the Wonka thing, we'll transition. Is that for me? I always like to think of it kind of glass half full, and I like to think the kids did make it out at the end personally, but I like to think that Wonka was maybe a hair more good than kind of than the psychotic. But then again, every time you go back to the movie, you always have like those bars like he really could have gone out of his way to help those kids, but he deliberately chose not to, which that's irrefutable. He chose not to help those kids, which there's a judgment call there. Like, yeah, maybe he isn't all good. So but they did bring it on themselves pretty much for the whole lot. So I mean, let's be honest.
All right.
So that brings us to Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I feel like Charlie's just kind of like a generically nice kid. I feel like Highmore gets a little bit more to do with him characterization wise.
I take it that's the thing. I want to say yes to that, but I don't know if that's true. I don't know if Highmore really does get. I think it might get less with the exception of the third act, where we're gonna have we're for some reason we're extending our ending of like, no, the family can't come to live with them, ergo we're gonna have more to do with him with Wonka that we didn't have earlier in the movie, like we do here in this version of the movie. You don't have like more of like a little.
I still think Charlie's one of the less interesting parts of the movie. And I mean, I feel like that's kind of just like by comparison because a lot of the other cast members are just super dynamic.
Well, the analogy I have for Charlie in this movie, for me, has always been he's like Arnold. He was the model for Hey Arnold, in that sense. He's very much Arnold before there was an Arnold. He's the Solomon.
That's pretty accurate, yeah.
The Solomon with kind of the very colorful grandfatherly.
I'm kind of surprised Hey Arnold never really did a proper like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory parody.
Well, yeah, I told you we had that episode where we went to that chocolate factory.
Yeah, I know, but we didn't really do like I could see like Arnold is Charlie, Helga is Veruca Salt. You know what I mean? Like I think it would work quite well.
I mean, it would, but then it would have.
Harold is obviously Augustus.
That was a time before we just went to like, hey, we got to remake everything, No, but I hear that. I would love to see that now. But
yeah.
So anyway, so just get fundamentally around about good kid, but I want to talk about the fizzy lifting drink room for a moment here. What I like about it is that when you're watching the movie, it's a great subversion with a point. It's that even the good kids face temptation, even though in parentheses here I want to just get in there. Albeit it was more of Grandpa Joe's idea than it was Charlie's. Like he's the one who said, "Hey, hang back here. Let's take a."
No, I agree there. When I was a kid, I was like, "Come on, Grandpa Joe, you shouldn't be doing this. The sign says so."
So there's a little get out of jail free card for Charlie. But regardless, the moral though, and I like the moral here, is that what's important, and this is where I'd probably go up against Dole with, is that I think what's important is that we're owning what's important is that you own up to making a mistake. You own up to facing the consequences for actions. Which is, we broke the rules. He hands back the gobstopper, versus the assumption like, well, we face Steve. This is such a relevant lesson because today we're in a culture these days of everyone's like, no, it shouldn't have been, like the lawsuit generation. You're always assuming you're in the right, that you've been wrong. You're trying to justify yourself versus just face the consequences. It's as real world today as it gets. With that, we need that lesson today.
So apparently Reddit has a hate sub for Grandpa Joe because of this.
I mean, I think everything worked out, so I don't think we necessarily need that hate on Grandpa Joe, but maybe that's just me.
I don't necessarily think so either, but I do think that's funny.
It is funny. And as Monkey says, Grandpa.
I don't agree with the sentiment of like he really did screw things up in the moment, but it's like I don't necessarily think that makes him like a terrible character.
I mean, to be fair, everyone else like they screwed up beyond repair. Where these guys repaired on their own. They fixed it. I mean, look, obviously things need to be sanitized, but it's not like he poisoned like the chocolate reservoir like the other kids. It's like you need to clean. You should be cleaning. You should be sterilizing that room anyway. What's the big deal? And clearly he's not really angry about it. We know that, so it all worked out fine. So diffuse that hate on Grandpa Joe, Reddit. But as Monkey says in the comments, that Grandpa Phil, as in Phil from Hey Arnold, would absolutely go for fizzy lifting. Oh my God,
yes.
And that's what I'm saying with the Hey Arnold comparison. That's what it is. It's Arnold and Phil. That's kind of like the rambunctiousness.
Be raspberry flavored.
Yeah. Sure. All right, let's see. So basically let's get to the big blow up, and then that dovetails into the ending. So of course,
the big blow up, Dragon. As you could imagine, I was kind of building to this, but the big blow up was the most traumatizing moment of the whole movie for me as a kid.
How brilliant a moment is it, though?
It is. It is. It's great. But as a kid, man, it is like the ultimate. Like it's the ultimate. Like we've all had moments as kids, right, where it's like someone besides your parents, like some sort of an authority figure, whether it be a security guard or a teacher or a neighbor, like chastises you, and it just throws you for a loop, man. It wrecks your reality.
Yeah, and imagine it's like your hero doing that to you too,
right?
Like,
oh man, it's a great moment. I mean, you know, I keep going on and on about the ambiguity of Wilder, but it's never is it more on display here than it is like right in the scene.
Let me tell you something. So every day as they were filming this, Gene Wilder and Peter Ostrom, after lunch, they would share a candy bar and then walk back to set. and Gene Wilder did not tell Ostrom that he did not tell him that he was going to be yelling at him in this scene. It was like how he was going to play this scene. So that's a genuine reaction you get during that scene. It's just an utterly stunning moment of just like, you know, black and white, clear as crystal. You stole fizzy lifting drinks. You bumped into the ceiling, which now has to be washed and sterilized. You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir. You're an inhuman monster. I said good day, sir. As a kid, I always took it that I'm not an inhuman monster. I said good day. And he's reminding him, I said good day, sir.
Right, yeah.
Like, I'm not inhuman. Inhuman monsters don't say good day.
All right,
but what?
Go ahead. I just kind of let's just wrap this up.
Yeah, right. So again, the point being, you know, Charlie does the right thing, which I mean, I love that in my characters. You know, I love that just in like characters who do the right thing, and then we have like that wonderful like so shines a good deed, you know, weary world, which takes us to the Wonka Vader, which is like our high of highs, endless possibilities set piece.
It's a great ending.
It is. Tiki, I seriously would attest. This is like, you know, one of the great endings in moviedom. It's just.
I would agree. What I love about it is it's so open ended. You know.
It is, and it just fills you with such a great, you know, feeling, like a 1/1000s, 2/1000s of it. It just, you know, you get the factory, you get everything, and just I just love the confluence of events that got us this, Tiki. It's the fact that like the movie was supposed to end on you get the factory, and then Grandpa says yippee. That was supposed to be the ending of the movie originally. So they call the writer while they're on set because they have nothing, because we can't end the movie like that.
Like no ending at all, man. That would have been so weird.
So they were panicked on the set, and they called the writer who was on vacation. And said, you got to give me something here. I need to end the movie in something, which then breeds the greatest ending in film history, one of the greatest endings in film history. So like, Charlie, remember what happened to the man who suddenly got everything he ever wanted? What happened? He lived happily ever after. And that, to me, that's the testament to Gene Wilder right there. That's the most beautiful line delivery I've ever heard in my life. It's just that smile. It's just the moral being. Sometimes the moral is just be good and enjoy the good things. You know, your faith will be rewarded. A sweet sentiment and a passing of the torch. That's what it is. You know, it's like our idols and our icons to say something so heartwarming. That's how you end the movie. You just want to end it on the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, not to mention just the visual of like going up in the great glass elevator itself and kind of just like shooting off into space almost.
And the tension of, oh God, is Wonka going completely crazy? Is going to kill them all in the in the launch and the lead up?
And I feel like there is just a tiny little bit of ambiguity in the end there, Dragon, if that actually happened or not. Honestly.
It's like taking it at face value. Wonka's put him through a great deal here with the whole Slugworth gambit and everything.
So you know what? I would like to think that it's like the beginning of like a great, beautiful new life for Charlie. But I appreciate, because Wonka has been so morally ambiguous up to this point, that I appreciate that they play that moral ambiguity up to the very end.
Yeah, and that's also the thing is, because we brought up the 05 remake here. That's the difference. We have ambiguity here. We didn't have any. He just hated children except for Charlie. That's pretty much what that movie. There's no ambiguity. He hated him. You know, there wasn't like the sweetness or like, you know, like the fact that he's got something cooking up on the side. And there's none of that. Jedi Knight says, didn't Veruca Salt get everything she ever wanted? No, sir. She did not get the golden egg. She didn't get the golden goose, so to speak. So she did not get everything. All right. So I guess Tiki, we should just round it out by kind of reflecting on the legacy. One last. We have a good question from Claudia. He directed it to us as well. Like just if you have five characters, five of your favorite characters or less. From anything, any movie or show or whatever, who do you think would last the longest in the Chocolate Factory Odyssey here?
Oh man. Okay, I'm just gonna pull off the top of my let's do I'm just gonna pull 5 random characters from 5 random IPs. All right, here we go.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna put it in the comments. So Yzma, Justin Hammer. I'm gonna have a really eclectic mix here, folks. Justin Hammer. Dragon, you play along. Let's combine it.
All right. Well, I have I know what my 3 are. Off the top of
Okay,
my
what's
head
your 3? I'll throw in Yzma and Justin Hammer, and then we can do your 3.
Batman, Deadpool, Jim Gordon.
Oh God! Wow. Of course, those are your 3.
Well, again, 3 favorite characters. There you go.
Okay, Dragon. Let's play this out. Why not? Let's play like a mini Survivor scenario here.
Okay, well, Deadpool's the first to go. Let's be honest.
Because Deadpool would just be like into the candy and.
Yeah, I'm saying he would probably be Augustus Gloop in this situation. Justin Hammer is going to be your Veruca Salt or Yzma. That's one of them. Justin Hammer is either Veruca or sorry, yeah. Okay, Justin Hammer is your Violet Beauregard.
I would agree on that because he's like he's overly ambitious, and his ambition is going to be the death of him.
Yeah, and he's almost like a car salesman in himself too. So by proxy,
right. So then Yzma is definitely the Veruca Salt. Mm-hmm. Her greed is going to get the better of him. Here's the thing, Dragon. I think I hate to say it, but I think Batman is her Mike TV.
I know, it's crazy. That's the thing. Batman. I could see either Batman or Gordon getting to the end, but if I'm being honest, though,
I think Gordon is the one that gets to the end, man. He's the most pure.
Yeah, because Gordon's the underdog, and he's long suffered. He's due for a win. He would have to be. No, I agree. Tiki, that's the thing. I begrudgingly say you're absolutely right. Now, Batman would get the furthest second to Gordon in this situation, though. I'm going to give him that. Where Batman would take again. It's kind of almost a mixture of the 05 version. He would take it too seriously to enjoy the candy, so he wouldn't get to the end. Batman would just say, "I'm out of here." Like here, I think it would probably be like, "Okay, I'm just gonna," instead of getting shrunk down like an idiot, he'd be like, "Okay, I'm out of here. I have other things to do." Or there's a breakout in Arkham. I'm out of here.
Okay, we're gonna do one more, Dragon. I'm gonna take a character from each of my top 5 movies of the 2010s. All right.
All right.
So we're gonna do Mark Zuckerberg from the Social Network. What character should we do for Scott Pilgrim?
The Chris Evans character.
Lucas Lee. Okay.
Yeah, Lucas Lee.
Let's see. La La Land. Let's do Mia from La La Land, the Emma Stone character. Let's see, and then also J.K. Simmons from Whiplash. So, oh God, what's that character's name?
It's Fletcher, isn't it?
Fletcher, yeah, Fletcher. So Fletcher from Whiplash, and then I believe I also have The Lighthouse. So Willem Dafoe in The Lighthouse. We'll just call him Willem Dafoe. There you go.
Good. I know.
Fun. It's more fun.
I know it is. I now want to do one with Jimmy McGill, but we don't have time.
Well, we could do one more with another set of your characters if you want.
All right. Okay. Well, you figure out yours.
Okay. Let's see. I think Mark Zuckerberg would obviously be the Veruca Salt in this situation. I would say in terms of gluttony, with Augustus, what do you think? Would it be Lucas Lee?
I think. Okay, who do you have as your Veruca?
No, Mark Zuckerberg would be my Veruca.
Okay, he's your Veruca. Lucas Lee's very. I don't know if he'd be. I think Defoe would be Augustus.
That's fair.
I think Lucas Lee could be Mike TV though.
What about Lucas Lee being Violet?
I mean, maybe. I'm just saying I could see him like being very abrasive like Mike TV. I could see that really easily.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Then who would be the Violet? Would it be? I don't know. I could see Fletcher being very abrasive though.
Yeah, I guess. Well, part of me honestly wants to say Fletcher would be perfect for Veruca too, because he could just be. I could see him doing "I Want It Now," but just very aggressively. That's what I'm saying. I think you should rethink Zuckerberg. I think Fletcher's your Veruca.
Well, where would you put Zuckerberg then? Would Zuckerberg be gluttony?
I'd like to think so. Yeah.
Okay. So Zuckerberg would be out first. Who would be
Then
Violet?
I guess Defoe's your Violet.
No.
Okay, we can't put too much thought into this, Tiki. I mean,
Okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. I think Mia would probably be the one who would come out on top, though, right?
yeah, I think so.
Because she's just like, hey, look, I'm just a pretty girl who likes to sing and dance and has big dreams. All right, I think we should probably wrap this up.
Yeah. I would have thrown in Jim McGill and Steve Rogers. We're gonna move on. Okay, so let's round things out with legacy here. Let's reflect on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think this obviously has a clear legacy on film. It's like the modern day Wizard of Oz for sure. Gene Wilder's performance is easily one of the all time great film performances, just because of how ambiguous and multi layered it is. I don't really have much to say that hasn't already been said. It's just a great kind of it's just a great classic earmark of cinema for sure. Just it'll be. Like honestly, Dragon. Like I said, I guess my final thought is like it almost like it's both. It's surreal both in the fact that it is 50 years old, like that it's that old, and also that it's only 50 years old. You know what I mean? It's like
I know.
Like it feels like it should be an older movie in terms of like it's permeated pop culture so hard, but it also feels like it's not a 50-year-old movie because of how modern it still feels and how much it still holds up. So it's got that bizarre little kind of like middle ground there, and I think that's kind of where the legacy lies.
I guess for me, when they put together at the end of time, when they put together a highlight reel of the medium of film over the centuries, this earns a top spot. It does. The 70s is a decade in film produced like an iconic film and like an icon a year. Like think about it, like 72 you get Godfather, and then like very consistently 75 Jaws, 76 Rocky, 77 Star Wars, and etc. And this is 71.
Oh.
71 is the year of Willy Wonka, unequivocally. And it's so much so it's been recognized by the National Film Registry as it should, as a no-brainer as that is. This is the definitive family film that's passed down for generations. They've tried to duplicate the feeling this film elicits and gives you with remakes and spin-offs and prequels in the works and all that sort of stuff. And I think Smart Money is simply, it cannot be replicated, at least not to the same effect. The film 50 years later is a beautiful tribute to Gene Wilder. It's a touchstone of childhood. It's the ultimate morality tale. Simply put, it's a great movie that's permeated the culture, and it kind of speaks. It kind of reminds me of that Walt Disney quote about that the unspoiled spot so often associated with entertainment. That's what this is. This movie's like the unspoiled spot. It's just kind of like a bright spot in the culture, and it's so nice to see it reach a milestone and to celebrate and to talk about it, because Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory just nothing but happiness, like a good candy bar. You feel happy, you feel good about life.
All right, well said. So big thanks to Monkey, AJ Zyla, and Jedi Knight for coming on in the comments, and also Claude Coringa, of course. You guys are all awesome. Very engaging conversation in the comments here. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, have a good night, guys, and happy golden anniversary to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. By the way, Dragon, that's something we really never brought up, but I'm going to bring it up right at the end. The fact that 50 is the golden anniversary and golden.
Oh!
Yeah, right at the end. I'm going to throw that little nugget in there.
We've got a golden ticket.
You're very welcome, AJ. I'm happy you could come on board. All right. Okay, guys, have a good night. You lose! Good day, sir!
I said good day, sir!